Hey guys, Joe Cassidy here, and I'm joined again by Mrs. Cassidy.
Hey Internet, how's it going? How was your week?
Alright, so since you guys really liked the last Airbender review, which was an hour long of us just talking about shit.
Yeah, we really didn't realize it was going on that long. Sorry about that.
We're gonna try for something a little bit shorter, talking about another movie. I'll try not to go too play-by-play, but this is kind of an experiment to see how much you guys really like these, because the last Airbender video has over 1,000 views, and it gets like fucking 40 every week. So thank you guys for that. But again, if you guys like it so much, then we're here to give you another. So as a forewarning, this is gonna have spoilers. It's gonna have bias. It's gonna have cussin', because cussin's awesome.
And tangents.
And tangents, and a lot of reference to a juxtaposition between the movie we're talking about and the original source it came from. So, with that out of the way, the movie that we're talking about today is Silent Hill Revelation 3D that recently came out in 2012.
Yeah, sure.
Recent enough,
Yeah,
it was
works.
in the last year. Directed and written by Michael J. Bassett, who I'm not really too familiar with, but I think, is he a different director from the original Silent Hill?
Completely different director.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I knew that too, and this movie is supposed to be a direct sequel off of the original Silent Hill. Now, if you remember the original Silent Hill, it is sort of this precursor movie to the first Silent Hill game, because,
Well, yeah.
well, it builds up that, couple has a kid that's adopted, the kid goes back to Silent Hill, and the wife is lost there, and that is sort of the intro to where the first game starts, where, Harry goes to find Sharon.
Yeah. Like, I think the first movie's kind of fascinating in a way. It's definitely not a movie that obviously is not, it doesn't replicate the games, to a T or anything, but it actually borrows elements from all 4 games at the time. The 5th one hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually kind of interesting. Like, if nothing else, the atmosphere and the imagery is very good. Which a lot of times that's what draws people into Silent Hill, and to me that's what I really like about Silent Hill, is just this sense of emptiness and loneliness, and just completely, abandon this place that once was. So I think it's kind of cool that in a way they borrowed elements from each of the games. Sorry, probably because they didn't realize they were going to make another movie, and so they were just kind of running with it. That's my guess.
Yeah, of course there were a lot of problems with the first Silent Hill movie, if you remember. Silent Hill! Silent Hill! Silent Hill!
Sharon, no, stop it. You're upsetting me and your father.
Yeah, and not to mention the ending, where
She just kind of dies.
who knows if she's dead or alive. She's
I think they made it pretty clear they were both dead, but they kind of brought...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Sharon, or Cheryl as she's supposed to be, comes back in Silent Hill Revelation.
Okay, so Silent Hill Revelation 3D. Just Silent Hill
Of course,
Revelation.
yeah.
It's, basically it picks up where it left off in the second movie about 10 years later. Basically we have a 16-year-old Sharon who has multiple names, as you know.
Her name in the game is Cheryl, and for some reason it's Sharon.
Sharon in the movie.
I don't know why they change stupid things like that.
Okay, so in this sense, Sean Bean playing as Harry ends up finding her daughter, or his daughter, ends up finding his daughter like how he does in the first game. So they basically go into hiding, and Cheryl has to change her name to Heather for safety reasons and stuff.
Which is correct.
So Heather is 16 now, and she keeps having these weird, fucked up dreams. And the movie starts out really well, like as in Silent Hill 3. And this movie is basically Silent Hill 3, the movie.
And etc.
Right. That's the game that it focuses on for this movie. So, and it starts off really well. It gets the weird carnival, like it's supposed to be Silent Hill amusement park, or
Lakeside
amusement park. Taylor's gonna help me with most of the technical stuff because she's played the games firsthand, and I don't have the time. And time, I don't mean by time I mean patience, and by patience I mean care. I'm not scared. Shut up. Okay.
It's okay, I'm scared too.
Okay, so we start off with a lakeside amusement park, and it's actually looking pretty legit. I mean, sure, it's got a carnival, but honestly, as long as we got the really fucked up imagery, they even throw in the Silent Hill rabbit this time, which is kind of a trademark with the series. They kept using it from, did it start in the second game, or was it just a third game and on?
No,
Because they used it in the third game, the fourth game.
actually, I don't remember if they used it in the second game or not.
I think it started in the third then.
Yeah, I'm more
Yeah, the
intimate
weird,
with
creepy
Pink
bunny.
Rabbit thing.
Yeah. So Heather keeps having these weird dreams about Silent Hill, and of course she keeps writing it down, and Sean Bean keeps it away in this safe for an ominous point later on in the movie.
Yeah.
Heather wakes up, and it turns out it's her birthday,
Yay!
and she goes downstairs. I guess talk, and Sean Bean's like, "Here, I got you a present," and. This is what I'm looking at. I'm like, she's missing something. Oh, God. She's not going to open this gift and get that fucking white vest. And she does! And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I got that. And even Heather is just looking at this vest like, oh. And Sean Bean's like, do you like it? And she's like, oh, yeah. Oh, I love it. It's the one I've been looking at the store for weeks. Yeah.
I guess we forgot to mention, even though I've played 2, 3, 4, and 5, the third game is actually particularly special for us. And I guess that's why we're really excited to see this movie, and we actually have a really special connection with that game. I won't go into too detail because it's a really long, disgusting, horrible story.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind,
right.
I guess.
So, well, of course, we like to pick on Heather that way. Again, it's the same thing with Azula. We love her, but we love to pick on her, so be forewarned. Okay, so, in that fucking white vest of Heather, because we know Silent Hill 3, Heather in her white vest, in her mini skirt, like, it's so fucking 90s. But they updated her costume for this movie, and it actually looks pretty cool. She's got leggings and the skirt, and a long sleeve and her vest, and the vest is...
It's a trademark, I guess.
It's a trademark, and she actually looks like her. The movie really goes out of its way to get a lot of things right in the beginning, and that's going to be your foreshadow. It's got it's got Heather's character right, that she's really stubborn,
kind of bratty,
and she likes to complain a lot. She does.
She does.
And she's really standoffish. She doesn't like being around too many people, and.
Mostly the whole demonic possession
Yeah, the
thing,
costumes are going off right. The mood is pretty well, and even Sean Bean as Harry, we can pretty much go with that.
It does have some weird parts, though, because when Heather runs off to school, Harry talks to his wife in the mirror, and they kind of have a flashback sort of thing.
Yeah, it's exposition time,
Yeah, basically she says, keep Heather away from Silent Hill, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'll just do that.
Got it. Okay, so, Heather goes to school.
So, one thing I wanted to point out is that she runs into this homeless guy. But when she first sees him, he's like a monster. She's like, oh my god, and she freaks out for a second, but then he comes back to normal. And he's just a creepy homeless guy. But I thought that was kind of interesting because in the game, pretty later on, Vincent is speaking to Heather, and she's like, I've been killing all these monsters. And he's like, gives her this weird look, and he's like, monsters? Is that how you see them? And it sort of gives you this weird vibe, like, are those really monsters, or is that just how Heather is perceiving them, and they're actually human beings that she's engaging in? And it kind of puts a whole other spin on it. Like, is she really just that crazy, or is the town really getting to her that much, or Alicia and all that? So,
yeah, it really plays up. It really plays up with the psychology of kind of like her madness of
her sanity is kind of.
Yeah, it's really cool that way. But and then we get Heather in school. So she's the new kid in class, and the teacher's like, all right, everybody, this is Heather Graham. Why don't you stand up and tell us a little about yourself? And of course, the two bitches in class are like, does she get her clothes from the thrift store?
Oh my god. Oh my god, Tiffany, that was so cool. You're so cool.
Oh god, so fucking,
Why are we 25 in high school?
Oh god, everyone's 25 in high school. It's just how we do in Hollywood. So basically, Heather fucking stands up and she's like, alright bitches, look, I don't like you, y'all don't like me, so don't fuck with me and I don't fuck with you. So just keep your distance, I don't care, going to school.
Whatever.
Fuck. And of course, this is when the moody new guy kid, or the new guy student in the back, who doesn't get an introduction, this other guy in the back is looking at her oh, she's so interesting and stuff. And this is when me and Taylor noticed something. It's like, we've seen this guy before somewhere.
His hair is familiar.
Yes.
No.
So later on in the school day, he comes up to Heather and he introduces himself. He's like, I'm Vincent. You know, I'm new to this school too, and you seem really interesting. We should hang out sometime. And then it starts to creep in on us like...
We know this guy. His voice. He's
Wait,
hiding
wait,
an
wait, wait.
accent.
He's hiding an accent.
Not very well either.
Is that Jon Snow?
And he didn't believe me at first, but was like, no, that's totally Jon Snow. I know that hair anywhere.
I am so on the fence with this because, you know, if you've seen Game of Thrones, like, okay, I can't remember the actor's
John's
name.
usually pouty and stuff.
Right,
And this
I
guy's
can't remember
all...
the actor's name for the life of me. But without his 5 o'clock shadow, with his hair a little bit more in order, yeah, it was basically like Jon Snow without an accent in this movie. And once we knew this, we couldn't stop making freaking Jon Snow and Ned Stark jokes throughout the movie because we had Sean Bean in the same movie. This was so cool.
We'll share some of our jokes later on.
Oh my gosh. So that apparently happened. So Heather's basically fucked up with school. She's like, I'm leaving, basically, and she goes to the mall.
Yeah.
And
she's already run into Douglas at this point, and Douglas is actually pretty cool. Like, he's got his character down.
Yeah, they got the costume right. I mean, they got a good actor for him.
He actually looks a lot like him, to be honest.
It's just a shame that they don't end up doing much with him. So Heather's basically, you know, running away from him and still having these really fucked up visions. And this is sort of when it all starts to build up and Otherworld creeps in. Because, you know, you can't have Otherworld without Silent Hill. So basically her transition to this evil part of the evil view of the world is shifting in. But you would think so, but Douglas is just along for the ride.
Yeah, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, Douglas is basically hounding her as a private eye for devious reasons, and you know, and he's brought along on this psycho trip that Heather's doing, and eventually it comes to the elevator, and Douglas is just like, oh my god, what the fuck's going on?
Actually, she's all like, get away from me, and he's like, Heather, I'm trying to help you, but she's like, now you smell.
Yeah.
And then he gets his fucking fingers chopped off.
Oh yeah.
And it's all...
The monster's just like, shing.
And then she's like, okay, now you can come to the elevator with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's weird because the monster looks like... okay, I don't know if you guys saw Cabin in the Woods, but there was a monster that was like playing on Hellraiser, and it had like the saw blades in its face and stuff. That's exactly what this monster looked like. It was really weird.
Yeah, apparently, like, all of a sudden, like, we know that there's supposed to be this weird... The monsters are supposed to show up in the mall in the game, so it's supposed to be going on track right now. But this new monster was just sort of like a showcase of Konami saying, hey, we're gonna throw this in the next Silent Hill game.
Ooh, or something.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks because a lot of times the monsters have a lot of weight and symbolism with them. And they did kind of come up with some interesting designs with one particular monster, but for the most part, it was just... weird.
Be disturbed, basically.
Yeah, like she goes through this hallway and she's seeing people getting butchered and made into hamburger meat, and it's
a lot of moments pop up like that.
Yeah.
But this one fucking monster, what do we call him? Like Sawhead?
Yeah, sure.
Like basically like saws coming in here and here and just bladed fingers and shit. So that's
he kills Douglas. So
Douglas is basically dead. That's him for the whole movie, and we're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, he at least made it through halfway of the game.
Yeah.
But we're like, okay, well, you got rid of Douglas. I guess things have to pick up now. And Heather basically flees from the scene. And we even get, like, a part with the policeman just going, like, you know,
I bet this bitch killed him.
Like, no, not even that, but they're just like, we watch these two fucking policemen that we don't even give a shit about. They're not in the game, and they're not important to us, and they're just talking about like, oh, I wonder who did this, blah, 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 blah. And then they pull up this picture like, oh, Douglas was after this one chick. Huh, she looks familiar. Oh, well, let's search them all. Like, dude, like Heather literally walks past them.
Nobody noticed. And she stays and watches for a few seconds, and they don't notice her.
Yeah, so the police are just like, we're the best police ever. Let's go check them all. This perpetrator's bound to return to the scene of the crime.
Let's get some donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Heather goes home and her dad is missing, and she's like,
yeah, and then of course, then again, this is when things start to pick up again. Well, sort of. Basically, Vincent or Jon Snow.
We're gonna call him Jon Snow.
I'll switch back and forth, but yeah, Jon Snow is hanging around her, and she's seeing more things, and he's talking like, well, you can tell me about what's going on, you can trust me, and she's just like, dude, no, fuck. And Heather's character is actually doing pretty well. She's standoffish, I don't know if I already said this before, but she's just sort of standoffish and kind of bratty and stuff like that. It's going by pretty well. And she gets back home with Jon Snow, and, well, does she get back first, or...
Yeah, she gets in the house first, and he hears her screaming.
Right. So Vincent walks her home, and Heather gets into the house, and she sees the blood circle on the wall, the save point that you know from the Silent Hill 3 games. And, she's just, she's just weirded out by that, and then she can't find her dad, and then, what, does she find a dead body and then scream?
Oh, I can't remember, but she screams for some
Yeah, so she's, freaks out, and Jon Snow, bashes in, with his Valerian steel, what is it? White Walkers? So, no, and then Heather's basically like, God, no, they took my dad, and there's a message on the wall that says basically...
Come to Silent Hill.
Come to Silent Hill, we got your dad. And, she's just like...
Maybe it was the Lannisters. I'm sorry.
Okay, so she basically goes up to Sean Bean's room, and pulls out the mystery box with all of her writings and everything related to Silent Hill in it. And she's shuffling through, and she gets basically, this key token. You find in a video game...
One might call it a crest.
A crest. You just put it, object A on place B, open the door. But it's not complete yet. It's only one half of the crest. So she's just like, I need to go Silent Hill. And then she pulls out her dad's gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jon Snow's like, whoa!
You sure you want to be messing with that? And he tries to convince her not to go to Silent Hill.
I've got this sword. It's got a cool wolf head on the bottom.
It's a bear. First of all, it was given to him by Mormont, Lord and Commander of the Night's Watch.
Your nerding is getting.
Well, you need to get this shit right.
And it's taking up time. So basically, Vincent's like, I'm going along for the ride. And then the police show up to the house, and they're like, shit, we'll bail. And then they hop out, and they make their way. Right. So, actually, Heather needs Vincent to drive the car because Heather can't drive.
No, actually, I have a big question. So, the police come into this house, who they suspect this chick is a murderer of Douglas. Somehow they think that she murdered him. Whatever. And they see this big message on the wall that says, come to Silent Hill, which is apparently quite adjacent to this town. Which, Harry, if you wanted to keep Heather away from Silent Hill, move to another state. Move to another country. Something where it's not as accessible.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Imagine if you guys, moved to Cuba. You're not gonna have, Silent Hill, Cuba, just off the interstate. Well, at least it's gonna take them quite a while to get there.
Although,
hold on. I think it would be really interesting to see Silent Hill, Cuba, and, how different that would be.
No, but, so the police officers don't think, Silent Hill, that's a town that's quite near here that has quite a bit of a reputation. No, we won't go there for another 5 days or
we'll
so.
We'll sit on it. So
whatever.
Heather and Vincent end up driving up the way, and they stop off at a motel, and not as sexy as it sounds. Heather's basically like, I have to go to Silent Hill, and Vincent's like,
don't.
You shouldn't, because I care about you all of a sudden, and then the big reveal. So, Vincent, being the new kid in town as well, is actually one of the offspring of the cult that's after Heather from Silent Hill. How that makes any fucking sense, I don't know. And this is pretty much where the movie starts to slowly trek downhill. So, yeah, they're at this fucking, motel, and then all of a sudden Otherworld starts to shift
by
in.
the way, I have a big problem with that, because we know that Otherworld usually has to happen when there's a transition, going downstairs, going through an elevator, some kind of portal way.
These guys are just standing in the hotel room, and all of a sudden just, the siren goes off, and
no siren! No damn siren!
Okay, there is a siren. I know it comes later.
But not initially.
Right, not this first time. And it's like Silent Hill just sort of creeps in, down the street. Silent Hill just walked up, and now it's right adjacent to this hotel.
And I guess this is what I really have a problem with the movie. Because, she goes into Otherworld, and then bam, she's out of it, and she's by herself. It's just weird. The whole be disturbed factor is really shoving its ass in here.
Yeah.
Because, Silent Hill, at least, it's subtle. It's the little things that make you question, why is this here? What does this mean? And you know how a lot of times the question is better than the answer? Silent Hill thrives off of this, and it just seems in this movie a lot of times they just make it really gory or really disturbing, but it's like, that's not the point. In Silent Hill, there's a means to an end. There's a reason why it's like that, and that's what makes you disturbed, because it gives you that uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
But here, it's just like...
Yeah, this is basically where it kind of goes off the tracks of being a good adaptation for Silent Hill 3. And you know me and adaptations, okay? There are ways to do it right and ways to do it wrong, and we'll cover that as the moral of our story. But, so to cover up some of the highlights of Heather going through Silent Hill, she's walking through this hall of, like, prisoners, and their arms are all out. It's all creepy and stuff. And we get Pyramid Head, a fucking gen in this game. And... Sorry, you're right, movie. Now, let me make one thing clear. For you people who don't know Silent Hill, Pyramid Head is kind of the pinnacle character of Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just...
So, in short, Pyramid Head is an executioner. He's a punisher. And...
That's what he does in the movie. He, like... cuts off people's hands as they reach out of the cells.
He has a close relation, more particularly with male characters and a lot of their sexual repression and masculinity, kind of like a reflection of what they wish they were, or wish they could have. And it really works well in the second and fifth game is where he's more prominent, and it makes sense that his presence is there. But here, it makes absolutely no goddamn sense, it's just fan service.
As we trek downhill on the quality of this movie, basically... Pyramid Head will get shoved in to every Silent Hill movie ever because fans apparently like Silent Hill. So for those who don't know Pyramid Head, don't bother. Go play Silent Hill 2. For those people who want Pyramid Head in the movies, either it better fucking make sense as a Silent Hill 2 movie, or just keep him the fuck out. Stop fangasming over Pyramid Head being in your movie if it doesn't make sense. Please stop. It was like that in the first Silent Hill, and it's been that way in this Silent Hill.
And by the way, knock it off with the fucking nurses, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So, as Heather, basically needs to track and find the owner of the other half of the Crest, it turns out to be the
Jon Snow's grandpa.
Right, Jon Snow's grandfather, who, the high priestess of the cult, Claudia,
Which, by the way, her costume is actually pretty accurate, and like in the game, she has no eyebrows. So that works.
Yeah, again, Claudia is one of those characters that we actually kind of like to make fun of as well. So, Heather's looking for the grandfather of Vincent, who is the father of Claudia, which means that Claudia is Vincent's mother, whereas in the game... Vincent and Claudia weren't related, and now we're really pushing the limit on...
But it gets even better. Speaking of guest appearances, Jon Snow's grandfather is Michael McDowell.
Yeah!
Bitches!
Apparently he had nothing better to do. So Heather basically gets into his cell and is like, I need the other half of this crest. And he's just like, nothing I can do. I'm blind. And then, he's spilling out more exposition like a motherfucker. And Heather's just sort of freaking out, like being disturbed. And then he's just like, yoink to Heather's crest, puts it in himself and turns into a giant fucking beast thing. And this is when... This is really bad because this is the one action that Heather, one heroic thing that Heather can do on her own as a protagonist, and she sort of botches it. She tries to fight him off as the monster mode, but she ends up getting beat and carried over the shoulder. And Vincent's grandfather humanoid Hulk thing walks off, she's just sort of like,
no, he's got this giant hole in his chest where the two crests are combined, and he didn't think it might be more prudent to drag or carry Heather in a different way, because literally she just goes, and he's down.
Dead. And that's all Heather does proactively in this whole movie.
Pretty much. I'm
dead serious, and the worst part's yet to come. So, Heather has the crest, and she keeps going through Silent Hill, and...
So, God, what happens next? So Jon Snow, his mother, Claudia, apparently, she's like, oh, you betrayed us because you love her even though she's evil for some mysterious reason. And he's like, oh, but I love her and I know where to put it now. And so They strap him to... They take him, to the asylum where apparently his grandfather's being taken. And I get it. It's kind of cool. It's sort of an homage to the fifth game. And so they just leave him in this room with a bunch of nurses, which apparently they don't seem to know how these nurses work, even though they live in this realm. And they have the lights on, so of course the nurses are gonna attack, and they're just like,
yeah. So get this. For those of you who don't know, the nurses in Silent Hill are also a symbolic meaning to Elisa when she was burned at the stake and was taking care of nurses at the hospital, right?
Yeah, and sexuality and all that
Right,
kind
so
of stuff.
basically it means, in the movie sense, hey, let's not get rid of the nurses, they're like the most popular character ever, and let's give them huge tits. Now, how these nurses work is that whenever the lights are on, or whenever your character's flashlight is on, it's basically a signal saying, I know where to find and kill you. But as long as it's dark, the nurses don't move. So, as Vincent's strapped up to this, as the cultists bring Vincent into the room, like...
Apparently they don't know how this works, and the lights are bright on above them, and they're trying to fight off these nurses, and they get killed. And then the nurses just stop. Even though the lights are on, and Jon Snow's strapped to the gurney.
The choreography for the actresses playing as the nurses is so bad. Even though the lights are off, you can still, like, see them move. It's so bad. It needed to be practiced more. And...
because they're just supposed to freeze, and you can see them, like, moving.
And
it's bad.
It fucking doesn't even much. So Vincent's tied up on the gurney, and Heather just sort of pops up, like...
kind of scared me, actually, because, like, there was nothing there, and she was just like, whoop. She's like, hey, what's up?
And Vincent's like, what the fuck? Get me out of here, man!
You know, and so... so they botched that up, and...
Yeah, so they get Vincent out, and the nurses all of a sudden can't aim for shit, and they get out, and, like, seriously, once Vincent and Heather leave, they just focus on the nurses for another pan around, like, ooh, sexy nurses. Please stop! These nurses are dead! They're fucking filthy! I don't care they have big fake tits! They're gross! Ugh!
But their mouths are covered so they can't talk to you!
Yeah, they have bags over their heads. Seriously, this is what I don't get with the fans. Can you guys please just let go of Pyramid Head and the nurses? Because, again, this isn't even the worst part. We are basically getting to the point of, like, barreling down of the shit going on in this movie. We get to the climax where, Heather knows where her dad is now, and of course he's at the scene.
And Jon Snow's there,
And Jon Snow is there.
He got recaptured at some point, I can't remember.
I don't know. But
they were running around the amusement park. Oh, yeah!
Right. They get to the amusement park because they know that Heather's dad, Harry, or Sean Bean, is being held up there, and that's where the cultists are. So Heather's like, I need to do this, and Vincent's like, okay. Let's do it then. I don't know. There's just a bunch of...
They're being chased by these guys who apparently think they're so awesome that they can't breathe real air, so they have these gas masks on.
Yeah. Weird thing, though, is that when they get their masks broken open, they're just literally like... and it's like, what the fuck were they on?
I know, right?
And again, so... we get back to the same situation. It's basically the reoccurring dream again. It's like full circle where Heather wakes up and it's like her dream's happening all over again.
She's on the carousel.
Yeah, so she gets to the carousel where she meets her nega self, and this is where shit really goes wrong. There's like, it's spinning and the cultists are outside.
And Pyramid Head is like, he's got this little crank thing going on. He's spinning the carousel.
The carousel is being run by Pyramid Head, who's just sort of in the middle going, it was so bad.
And he's got like the chains on his chest. It's all BDSM shit.
It's so nasty.
Oh, it's
okay, so Heather, and she faces her nega self again, which is okay because she did have that evil version of herself in the Silent Hill 3 game. But then they fuck it up. Heather beats her negative self with the power of love.
That's the power of love. She basically hugs her to death.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, okay, it's just sort of like, she hugs her other self and they get beamed up and phased into one.
So
basically she just sort of sucks in Elisa's evil, and Heather isn't affected by this at all. So, again, another thing that Heather didn't really proactively do.
I don't know if we probably should have explained this a little earlier on, but basically the cult thinks that Heather is evil because she is basically a separate entity to Elisa, who was really the evil child, but they kind of, shot themselves in the foot with that one. And they believe that Heather needs to return to Silent Hill, so, at least in the video game, so she can give birth to their god. And Claudia's like batshit insane about that.
Right.
But I think in the movie it's more like they just want to destroy Heather so that they can be free or something.
However, Heather does meet up with Elisa's mom as a hobo bag lady. And even Elisa's mom is just like, it was foretold that the evil one would give birth to the new god. They even said that. But yeah, Claudia doesn't give a shit though.
Yeah.
And eventually it's just completely dropped off. Claudia just then wants her dead. As Heather and Vincent get to the final round and Claudia is like, "You're ruining everything," and is going fucking nuts and stuff, and Sean Bean is I think he's on the knife throwing board or whatever.
Yeah.
This is basically the pit of the movie. Claudia turns into Buzzsaw Head. For no reason. She just turns into one of the demons, the new Silent Hill monster that's going to be featured in the next game for sure, with the bladed fingers, and she's about to kill them all. And then
fucking
jump the shark, Pyramid Head comes to the rescue.
Now granted, we don't know if it's the same Pyramid Head made in Carousel.
It's a Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head just comes in and the two monsters fight. Pyramid Head wins, looks at Heather and goes, "Yeah, I did that. You're welcome."
See ya.
And walks off. That's your movie. That's none of the protagonists doing what protagonists do, and that would be anything. And that's basically like, it feels like Michael, the director, writer, just didn't give a shit at the ending. He's just sort of like, "Oh, we'll fucking wrap this up. We're running out of time." And that's the movie. And you know what's worse? Is that they all end up alive. And I know this is going to sound weird, but in a Silent Hill game where horror and misery are themes and just genre, even just atmosphere alone, you know that this is a drama, and you know that this is going to be one of those stories where no one comes out alive.
Or it doesn't
end up happy even in the good ending, because that's
it's usually you break even.
That's Silent Hill. Silent Hill is your purgatory. Nothing is ever the same after that. But in this movie, Heather and Vincent just get picked up by the truck driver from Silent Hill 3, and they go...
He's from...
No. Silent Hill 3.
No.
The same truck driver, yeah?
No. He appears in the first game and in the fifth game. Travis Grady.
I'm sorry then. Yeah.
No, it's alright.
Well, the matter of the fact is that, Vincent and Heather both leave happily ever after, and Sean Bean looks for his wife in Silent Hill. And then as the last note, the police finally show up to Silent Hill like, "Alright, we're here to find Heather. Totally here on time. Didn't see that trucker pass by with those suspicious looking fellows, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. And the adaptation was completely ruined.
And then they have this, it's kind of a shame, I think you pointed this out, that in the first movie they used Heather's song, "You're Not Here," as the ending credits. When really, I know, I probably didn't realize they were going to make another movie, but they really could have used it in this movie. It would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, seriously. Heather's theme song was used in the wrong movie, and then we get the credits for this third movie, and it shows off...
Second movie.
Sorry. We get the credits for the second movie. And it just shows off some of the new monsters that came out in this movie, like the giant fucking mannequin spider.
Which was actually pretty cool.
That was cool. And then more nurses, and then Pyramid Head, and this fucking...
I think we even got, a gratuitous boob shot, too, of the nurses.
And this horrible fucking, emo music, and the whole movie's just gone to shit. Yeah. So... It got to me and Taylor talking about adaptations, and whether this was good adaptation or bad. And what can I say is that an adaptation, how it's supposed to work, is supposed to literally bring to life a piece or a work that isn't in the medium of motion. Whether it's with a TV show or a movie coming from a comic book or a book, or, I don't know, even the translation between a video game and a movie, people want to see the stories played out. But I know that it's a challenge to translate, from one media to another, because some things don't work out. That's how you get things like the Harry Potter series or the Lord of the Rings. Some things just don't work out, but if you work hard enough, you can make them work on their own. As far as this movie, Silent Hill Revelations, it just started off so well, it had so much promise, and then completely ended on that. It just, what more can we say? It ruined itself. And when it comes to doing a right adaptation, you don't want to do it like The Last Airbender, which, again, really fucking sucked. Or you don't want to do it like Lady Oscar, which really fucking sucked, because, you either go all in, like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, or you make it your own, like, again, Lord of the Rings, or even like Twilight, I guess.
Let's not talk about Twilight. Basically, I feel like this movie had a lot of missed potential. It had a lot of really good things going for it, and I really think Silent Hill could have done very well as a movie if done right, because it has such a, dreadful atmosphere and characters that are very well developed and have a lot of motivation, and it just, I don't know, it seemed kind of weird. As much as I love the third game, a lot of it did not take place in Silent Hill, so it seemed kind of weird that they would choose this game to model it after. I mean, I know Silent Hill 3 is immensely popular, a lot of people really like the game, but you could have just as easily done Silent Hill 2 and just said, you know what, fuck it, we're just starting over, Because I think that's probably, like, the fan favorite. Everybody loves that game. And I don't know, I think they could have done better, but there were a lot of things in the movie done well, but there was also a lot of just unnecessary changes and just gratuity.
Where we would put this on our adaptation ranking list, I think would give this pretty low, but not as bad as Last Airbender, because at least...
Nothing in the world is as bad as that movie. I really have a hatred for it. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah.
My hatred for The Last Airbender.
I don't know.
It is truly probably the worst movie that's ever come out.
Right.
Ever.
Well, again, as long as adaptations are going to be around, we're going to try to at least watch the best we can. So, I hope that we got a good enough review for you guys for Silent Hill Revelations. By the way, if you're going to throw 3D in the title of your movie, please do your 3D right, because fucking this isn't good 3D, okay? Well, I saw a couple of those shots in the movie.
I know, and
Because, look, I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it right. There's a right way of doing
3D
this.
should be an enhancement, not a...
I'm sorry, I'll stop doing that.
Not something you add on the end of your movie.
Not a garnish. Like, make it actually worthwhile, like... Okay, so... Thank you guys for watching our video. If you guys want to see more, especially by me and my wife, just let us know and we'll keep on rambling about stuff. And look ahead, because I'm getting my portfolio done and I'm going to have videos coming out soon. And I should get to script writing and this and that.
You also have Kenshin to do.
Oh, shh, don't tell the audience. They're not supposed to know that yet.
We finally got the movie.